Hey guys, what's going on? Shaw here, and today I just want to talk about a few reasons why I'm excited for Season 4 and why I'm not that excited for Season 4. I really just want to share my opinion about some of the concerns I have going into the next season, some issues that I think will arise with like rotating dungeons. Essentially what Blizzard's trying to do is they're essentially trying to test how Dragonflight's going to work on live servers, since obviously like PTR and beta and alpha testing are normally a little bit limited. So going into Season 4, just in case you weren't aware, the dungeons that we have currently been playing, which would include essentially everything you see here on screen, anything from The Other Side to Necrotic Wake to Sanguine Depths, all of these dungeons will no longer be available. The only thing that's going to stay available in the new season is going to be the Tazavesh split instance of upper and lower, which is going to be your Gambit, which is upper, and Streets, which is lower, however you want to kind of divide that up. While this dungeon is great, it's going to be a little disappointing seeing a lot of these dungeons go, because some of these were big fan favorites. A lot of people really loved Halls of Atonement, Necrotic Wake, even DOS in some weird instances. But nonetheless, these dungeons are no longer going to be available, and because of that, their loot tables will no longer be available. So classic trinkets like Phial of Putrefaction from Plaguefall will no longer be available. The Other Side, actually The Other Side has some crazy good trinkets. Blood Splattered Scale, Quantum Device, Shadowgrass Totem, and Overwhelming Power Crystal also no longer available to obtain in Season 4. Just kind of sad to see it go. The good news is, though, is that they're rotating in older dungeons from various different expansions, as well as voter choice dungeons that, for some reason, we voted for Grimrail and Iron Docks, but we won't get into that today. The dungeons that they're going to be bringing back are going to be Mechagon, Operation Mechagon, both upper and lower, Junkyard, and not Junkyard. I forgot the name of it. Holy shit. What is... What's it called? Holy shit. I can't think of it. Workshop. Fuck, man. Holy shit. So yeah, Junkyard and Workshop are coming back, and then we're going to be seeing Upper and Lower Karazhan, which is a dungeon that only players who've been playing Mythic Plus for a very long time will remember, but this was our first mega dungeon that we had access to. What I like about Karazhan was kind of the boss rush. It felt like there weren't a ton of trash in these instances. It was kind of just boss, 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 boss. And some of the boss fights were actually pretty engaging. But I am not really excited for the Opera Hall rotation, but we'll have to see how that plays out once we get there. And of course, they're bringing back the 2 Draenor dungeons. Now, while we are seeing some items leave us, like Blood Splattered Scale, Overwhelming Power Crystal, etc., we are going to have access to some older trinkets, things like the Eye of Command, really cool trinket. Mages are also assuming are gonna have access to the bracers from Mechagon. Let me see if I can actually find them here in the dungeon journal. The hyper thread wrist wraps. If these do come back, which I'm assuming they would if they're in the loot table, will make fire mages extremely broken again. Because this is a very powerful item. Now, I might be wrong about that completely. It does say requires level 50 or below, so I'm not sure if that's going to actually stay true. But I'm going to assume that they're going to be available for mages. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not quite sure. So I'm a little disappointed we're losing the raids, because something that I think a lot of players, at least players who like to push up on the ladder, enjoy about Mythic Plus is the consistency of learning a dungeon over the course of an expansion and using that as kind of like a benchmark to know that the next time I go into a 25 or 26 or whatever halls, I need to beat this timer, and I need to see where there's areas of improvement. So rotating the dungeons at the end of the expansion, and only for a very short period of time, kind of feels like a spit in the face, just a little bit. Now, again, I'm coming from a point of someone who typically pushes on the leaderboard and tries to push for rank 1. Not that I am rank 1, but we try to get to that point. So having a rotating dungeon list just means that some players are going to be at a disadvantage, some players are going to be at an advantage for who've played. And of course, players who can spend more time playing the game are going to be rewarded for that, because they can spend more time learning the instances, the little, nuanced tricks inside of the dungeon. So All of that together makes me not too excited for Mythic Plus. Something though that I am really excited about is Faded Raids. Now, just like Mythic Plus, we're going to have a new affix implemented into new raids, or I guess I should say old raids. So we're now going to have access to farm Castle Nathria, Sanctum, and Sepulchre on a rotating schedule once Season 4 drops. Supposedly in Season 4, we're going to start with Castle Nathria, jump to Sanctum, then back to Sepulchre, and keep going through this rotation, probably until, I would assume, the end of Season 4, or even through pre-patch. What's cool about going into these older raids is that all of these item levels are going to be jacked up to a new set item level. That item level is actually going to be here. This website, World of Moudi, I love this website, but it's kind of old looking, right? Like this is super 2006 vibes. But we're actually going to see Mythic item level being dropped at 304 item level. Even if you're a Mythic raider now, doing Faded normal raids will get you 270 to 285 item level, which is pretty cool. So why is that cool? I mean, like obviously higher item level, which is better stats, but having access to Dreadfire Vessel again, or of course the music sheet. We also will have access to like Hymnal and tanks, for example. Let's just go to Druid, Guardian. We'll have access to Splintered Heart of Alar. Just really cool. Hateful Chain, Stone Legion Heraldry. So there's going to be a lot of cool items that we're going to have access to. We're also going to have nice items like the Crest of the Legionnaire General, which is just good stats. There's actually some pretty good statted gear from this raid. But even moving back to like Sanctum of Domination, a big thing that you might have noticed if you're a tank player specifically is that there are a lot of players still running Shard of Anhilds. So this Aegis is insanely strong because it's essentially an uncapped absorption shield that will absorb damage over 8 seconds from anything coming from in front of you. And then if it absorbs a certain amount, it'll expel the damage. The damage component is so small, but this trinket is uber broken. So broken that there are players running 239 versions still, and of course like 252 versions from last season. But comparing that to 278 and 285 gear that we have currently, that's a pretty low item level to jeopardize while running in higher keys, both for main stat as well as just like general item level. So having access to some of these trinkets, as well as Guardian Druids again having access to our Jotungeir, Destiny's Call, this is just a really exciting time to get into raid to then do Mythic Plus. It just sucks that we're also having rotating dungeons in pair with this, so we're not going to really be able to see like a nice benchmark from previous seasons. And then the last thing I really want to talk about that makes me either happy and or sad, which actually it makes me more sad, is the new season kind of sucks. I'll be honest. So we have this new affix and it's going to be called Shrouded. Beautiful Dratnos explains it very well. But essentially what's going to happen is this is now incorrect. They've actually nerfed the versatility from this point. At the start of each dungeon, you can choose a secondary stat you want your bounty to have by talking to an NPC. You're going to choose either 2% crit per stack, 2% haste per stack. This is now 1% verse, so this is wrong. Or 69 mastery per stack. So some classes might choose mastery. Actually, I'll come back to this later. So essentially what would happen is you start off with 1 stack, and every time you defeat a Dreadlord in that dungeon, the stack will increase by 1. And then you would have to find the Dreadlords by just certain mobs have an aura around them. So if we look at this clip here, actually we need to back this up a bit. You can see that, wow, this is really hard to see. Drat knows why. You can see that they're kind of glowing purple here. And once you pull them, they're going to turn into a Dreadlord. And this is going to give us a bounty, which is that stacking debuff. Of course, Dranos is playing my favorite tank of all time, Blood DK. So essentially what this is going to do is once you defeat this mob, you're going to then get a stack of bounty, which is going to give you secondary stats. These guys have like, the Dreadlords have certain mechanics tied to them, but it's nothing that we haven't seen before. Now, what's kind of dumb about this is we're coming off of the back of an affix that was actually really enjoyable. And I definitely understand the arguments where relics are kind of boring, you know, like Boomkins, for example, like prefer like Vi maybe more often than not, Vi instead of getting like and most of the time you would just kill at least you would try to, or you would need a WoW skip. But what was really cool about Awakened, or not Awakened, Awakened was fucking sick. What was really cool about the relics is that it made like dungeons like the other side really fucking enjoyable, because you would WoW and then you would just like skip through all of this trash. And that was like, it was, what was really nice is it made it like very non-linear, right? So now you would be able to skip all this trash, which would be able to make your route a little bit more flexible. You were able to pull then more in Ardenweld, and then if we just reset the route, like at the end, you would be able to grab a WoW, and this would actually get you all the way out of here, which was super nice having like that speed buff. You would just fucking zoom all the way out of the dungeon, or all the way back out to Muzala. It made these non-linear dungeons, or these linear dungeons non-linear in some capacity. Also, what tanks or healers or even like DPS would really complain about, like health regen, mana regen, and cooldown reduction on your major cooldown. All of your cooldowns, actually. Priests being able to spam Divine Star, Brewmasters being able to like basically back-to-back Celestial Brew or Purify Brew. Fire mages combust, warlocks, you know, whatever warlocks do, they get Rain of Fire. I don't fucking know. Warlocks just spam Rain of Fire, I'm convinced. Nonetheless, we are losing a pretty good affix. If I had to like rank it out of all of the affixes that we've seen so far for the seasonal affix up to this point, I would put it probably just behind Awakened. And this new Shrouded affix just seems very boring to me and kind of lazy. It seems a little bit maybe like rushed. I'm not really sure what the word is. Like it seems like it has good intention, but by the points we are going to be with 304 item level towards the end of this season, and how short the season is going to be, a lot of these are just like not gonna matter that much for most classes. And with verse being nerfed, we're now only gonna be able to have 1% verse per stack, which means it just doesn't feel that great. The play was just pretty much stack verse. So you take less damage, you do more damage. You're already probably hitting your haste breakpoints, your crit breakpoints, your mastery breakpoints on a lot of classes. So it didn't make sense to try to like ramp that up even more if you can just take a flat damage increase as well as a damage reduction. I'm pretty sad to see the relics leave us encrypted. It was a pretty good season. But if we look at like a general timeline, I guess we could do this in game. We're going to be seeing this season come out on the 2nd of August, which will be next month. So in about a month from the time of this recording this video. And we're probably going to see maybe 2 to 3 full months. So essentially what's happening is that they're releasing Dragonflight by the end of this year is what they've said on their pre-order purchase, what Blizzard has stated. I doubt they would ever push it back. I don't know if they legally can. No idea. But we're probably going to start seeing a pre-patch somewhere in, even if we assume that it's going to be like the 31st, which I don't think it will be. I think they're going to try to release Dragonflight sooner for maybe Christmas or even Thanksgiving. We're probably going to see a pre-patch sometime in this month, probably November, which means that we only have 3 months of the season with the new dungeons. 12 weeks, I guess that's okay, but it's going to be a very, very short season. And there's no time to really kind of hone in, you know, the execution with certain affixes in some of these dungeons. So just all in all, kind of mundane. Like I wish they either did this season sooner or later and they pushed Dragonflight back to next year. But that's just me personally. I know some people are excited for Dragonflight. A lot of people probably aren't even going to play this next season because it's so close to Dragonflight and it just feels pointless to gear up right before a new expansion. So we are going to be waiting in limbo for a while. But that's pretty much it. There's some other cool things. Let me know what you're excited for. Let me know what you're not excited for down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Yeah, you'll probably be seeing a good bit of content from me in the near future, but for now, I'm not really posting anything about keys currently because we're going to be saying goodbye to most of these keys in the next couple weeks. So hope you guys are staying happy, healthy, and I will catch you all in the next one. Take care.